Real wealth is never just about money. It's about mindset. Before you can master your finances, your business, or your results, you must first master yourself. That's the essence of mastering the inner game of wealth. While many chase external strategies, new investments, tactics, or opportunities, few realize that all sustainable success begins from within. The inner game of wealth is the mental, emotional, and spiritual foundation that determines how you think, feel, and behave around money. The truth is, becoming wealthy isn't actually that hard. It's just very uncomfortable. Because the things you need to learn to make your first million aren't taught anywhere else. They're called the secrets to building wealth. Most people chase wealth outwardly. They search for opportunities, hustle endlessly, change jobs, start businesses, and follow advice from gurus, yet still feel stuck financially, because they're trying to change the results without ever changing the root. Here's the truth. Wealth is 90% mindset, and only 10% strategy. This is the essence of mastering the inner game of wealth. Learning to control, reprogram, and elevate the mental, emotional, and spiritual patterns that silently dictate your financial destiny. So we talked about this in the last video, but the reality is that making money requires 3 good ideas. Skills to make those ideas happen and a lot of willpower to actually do it. Most people do become wealthy because they master the outer game of wealth instead of the inner game. Let me explain. The outer game of wealth is what most people see and focus on when they want to become rich. It's the cars, houses, clothes, bags, watches, vacations, and everything else that comes with having a lot of money. And while there's nothing wrong with wanting these things, focusing too much on them can be a problem because the outer game is only half of the equation. It's a bit like going to the gym and only training your biceps. Sure, you might look good if you flex online, but you're gonna have a hard time if you ever try to pick heavy things up. If you train your biceps without also training the rest of your body, you won't be able to walk up a flight of stairs without wheezing. And that is because real wealth is created by mastering both the outer game of wealth and the inner game of wealth. The inner game is made up of habits, beliefs, values, and principles that dictate how you think about money, yourself, and the world around you. This is why you should always think about what's inside the box before you open the box itself. You see, in order to build wealth, you need to play both games well. But unfortunately, most people don't even realize that there's an inner game to winning with money. They see the flashy cars and big houses and think that getting rich must be easy. So they copy the outer game without also developing the right mindset. That is why most people who try to get rich end up back in the same place they started. They never even make it past level 1. The reality is that the inner game is far more important than the outer game, because without the right mindset, you'll never be able to reach your full potential. And here are 5 reasons why. 1. Your net worth is directly proportional to your self-worth. Your net worth is the value of everything you own minus the value of everything you owe. But did you know that it's also directly proportional to your self-worth? In other words, the more you believe in yourself, the more you're able to accomplish and the more you'll earn. On the other hand, if you don't believe in yourself, if you constantly put yourself down and tell yourself that you're not good enough, or that you'll never succeed, then you'll never achieve your goals. It doesn't matter how much potential you have. If you don't believe in yourself, you'll never reach your full potential. Your self-worth determines your level of motivation, your ability to take risks, and your willingness to learn from failure. It also affects your relationships and your ability to work with others. Basically, if you don't have any self-worth, you're not going to get very far in life. So before you can start talking about increasing your net worth, you have to start by increasing your self-worth. How do you do that? By adopting the mindset of a millionaire. Number 2, poor people have a poor mindset. When you're broke, you're likely to think about money in negative terms. For example, you might think about how little you have in your bank account, or how expensive everything is. You might also feel like a victim of your circumstances, believing that you don't have any control over your financial situation. Maybe you grew up poor and you feel like there is nothing you can do to change your situation. Or maybe you've tried to get rich before and failed, which left you feeling discouraged and defeated. Whatever the case may be, these are all examples of a poor mindset. And until you change your thinking, you'll never be able to become wealthy. To adopt the millionaire mindset, you have to stop thinking about money in terms of lack and start thinking about it in terms of abundance. You have to believe that there is plenty of money out there for everyone and that you deserve to be rich. You also need to develop a positive attitude towards money. This means seeing it as a tool to create the life you want, rather than something that causes stress and anxiety. Finally, you have to stop thinking of yourself as a victim and start taking responsibility for your actions. Only then will you be able to break free from your current situation and start building the life you want. No. Rich people protect their inner circle. When you're broke, you tend to let anyone into your inner circle, whether they're toxic or not. You might think that having lots of friends will increase your chances of getting rich, but the reality is quite the opposite. Having toxic people in your life can actually make it harder to become wealthy. You see, when you're broke, you're often desperate for money, which makes you vulnerable to people who want to take advantage of you. These could be friends or family members who ask for money all the time, or random strangers who try to sell you get-rich-quick schemes. Whatever the case may be, you need to be careful about who you trust. The fact is, if you can't control your emotions and impulse spending, having lots of money could be detrimental. If you're not strong enough, the best thing you can do is to protect your inner circle and only let people who support your goals in life. Your habits will determine your lifestyle. The key to becoming wealthy is to live below your means. However, this is easier said than done. You see, when you're broke, you probably have bad financial habits. You might spend money on things you don't need, or you might not save for the future. These habits can make it difficult to live below your means, especially if you suddenly become wealthy. Let me tell you a story. There was a guy who won $1 million in the lottery. He was so excited to finally have a lot of money. He went out and bought a new car, a big house, and designer clothes. He also started gambling again. Within a few years, he lost all of his money because he didn't have the right habits. Even though he had $1 million, he still spent money like he was broke. If he had developed good financial habits, he wouldn't have lost everything so quickly. This is a story we hear all the time. In fact, I've read studies showing that 70% of lottery winners go bankrupt within a few years. And the reason for this is simple. They don't have the right habits. So if you want to become wealthy, you have to start by changing your habits. This is the only way to ensure that you can maintain your wealth over time. 5. Getting rich is a skill. Most people think that getting rich is just about being lucky or being born into a wealthy family. But the reality is that becoming wealthy is a skill that can be learned by anyone. It doesn't matter where you come from or what you have now. What matters is what you do with what you have. That's why you should think of yourself as a project and your life as a work in progress. Now, I'm not saying that you should be obsessed with becoming rich, but it is important to remember that your net worth is ultimately determined by the value you provide to the world. And the more value you can provide, the more you'll earn. So if you want to become wealthy, you have to start thinking of yourself as a product. You need to ask yourself how you can provide the most value to the world, and then make that your mission in life. Remember, the outer game of wealth is just the result of playing the inner game. Well, to reach your full potential, you have to focus on your mindset, your self-worth, your habits, and your ability to provide value to the world. And once you do that, the outer game will take care of itself. And that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you've learned something new. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm sure you've enjoyed this video. You'll definitely enjoy this video, so click here to watch it now, and see you in the next one.